When the oxygen first starts slipping away, the truth is, you wouldn't realize anything strange was happening. At least, not immediately. Everything around you looks perfectly normal. You're probably just going about your day, texting a friend or grabbing a coffee. But if you paid very close attention, you'd feel a slight change. Maybe it feels like the air is a tiny bit thinner, like you're breathing on top of a tall mountain. But you'd quickly brush it off, thinking you're just tired or imagining things. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, sensitive instruments used by scientists across the globe instantly pick up on this mysterious shift. Meteorologists stare at their screens, puzzled by the strange drop in oxygen levels they're seeing. But there's no immediate panic yet. They double-check their equipment, wondering if this could be some kind of error. Unfortunately, this isn't an error. And within seconds, the situation will escalate dramatically. The world is about to experience something it's never seen before, and there's no turning back. Only 10 seconds have passed, but already something doesn't feel right. Imagine you're walking down the street, and suddenly your breathing feels heavier, like you're climbing stairs even though you're just strolling along flat ground. You stop for a second, wondering what's going on. As the oxygen keeps dropping, now at about 20 seconds, you notice others around you starting to breathe quicker. People glance at each other nervously, confused about why they suddenly feel dizzy and short of breath. In hospitals, alarms begin quietly flashing. Patients who are already struggling to breathe feel even worse. Nurses rush in to check on them, puzzled because oxygen tanks are full. But somehow it's like the air itself is thinning. Scientists and meteorologists are now urgently checking their readings. They can't deny it anymore. Something frightening is happening. Phones start ringing, texts fly back and forth, and emergency alerts are quickly prepared. But these early signs are just the beginning. What comes next is much more terrifying. By the time 30 seconds have passed, things take a serious turn. Suddenly you're for breath, feeling desperate as if you're stuck underwater. People around you begin to panic, clutching their chests, unsure what's happening. Workers doing physical jobs like construction or factory work struggle to keep going. They stop, dropping their tools, feeling exhausted and dizzy. Mistakes happen. Machines slow down or stop working entirely, creating dangerous chaos. Birds begin to fall from the sky, tumbling helplessly to the ground. They've lost their strength because there's simply not enough oxygen left to keep them flying. Even plants, usually calm and unaffected, start to suffocate quietly, wilting slightly as they struggle to breathe. In cities and towns, the streets quickly become scenes of confusion and panic. People rush to find help or simply stand frozen in shock, not knowing where to go or what to do. All across the globe, authorities realize the crisis is real and spreading rapidly. Emergency broadcasts interrupt TV and radio programs, urgently warning everyone to stay indoors. But as scary as this moment is, it's nothing compared to what happens next. Now, a full minute into the crisis, things turn truly terrifying. The oxygen level has dropped drastically, and anything powered by combustion, like car engines and airplanes, is about to fail. On busy highways, cars suddenly lose power and come to a standstill, clogging traffic everywhere. Drivers desperately try restarting their engines, but nothing happens. Panicked people jump out of their vehicles, gasping for air, not understanding why their cars won't move. High above, the scene is even worse. Pilots urgently radio for help as airplane engines sputter and shut down mid-flight. Passengers scream as oxygen masks drop from overhead compartments. But with the oxygen disappearing rapidly, even those masks offer little comfort. Airplanes begin losing altitude quickly, spiraling toward the ground. At sea, boats and ships stall, drifting helplessly. Fishermen and sailors stare out across the water in disbelief, stranded and terrified, their radios crackling with distress calls from all directions. Meanwhile, electricity grids around the world begin flickering and shutting down. Hospitals, offices, and entire cities suddenly plunge into darkness. Emergency systems activate, but without oxygen, even backup generators can't last. The collapse is swift, relentless, and shocking. But the nightmare is only just beginning. 2 minutes into this crisis, half the oxygen on Earth is gone, and the world has become a nightmare. You and everyone around you are now desperately struggling just to stay conscious. Your head feels dizzy, your limbs heavy, and your vision blurs as your brain screams for oxygen it can't get. People everywhere start collapsing to the ground. Streets become scenes of chaos, filled with unconscious bodies and others desperately trying to breathe. Faces turn pale, lips go blue, and panic turns into quiet desperation. Animals are suffering just as much. Pets in homes lie down, heavily and trembling. Wildlife in forests and parks collapses where they stand, unable to move or escape. The world is silent and eerie, filled only with In hospitals, even the oxygen masks become useless as supplies run out. Doctors and nurses struggle to keep themselves conscious, let alone care for others. Patients quietly slip away, unable to get the help they need. This isn't just a disaster, it's an apocalypse, unfolding in real time. But believe it or not, the worst is still ahead. As oxygen keeps vanishing, something terrifying happens beneath the waves. The oceans, which once held life, are starting to choke. Fish, crabs, and even tiny creatures like plankton can't survive without oxygen. Slowly, they float to the surface, lifeless. Coral reefs bleach and die. The ocean, once full of color and motion, becomes silent and still. But the damage isn't stopping there. High up in the sky, another disaster is forming. The ozone layer, which protects us from the sun's dangerous rays, is made of oxygen too. And now, it's breaking apart. Without this shield, deadly ultraviolet light begins pouring down on Earth. If you're outside, you might feel your skin burn faster than ever before. Back on land, things are falling apart. Emergency services stop working. There's no one left to answer calls or send help. News anchors try to keep calm on TV, but their voices are weak, their eyes heavy. Everyone is losing the ability to think clearly, move, or even stay awake. And if you think this is bad, what comes next is almost too extreme to imagine. Now it's been almost 8 minutes since the oxygen started disappearing, and Earth is unrecognizable. Over 90% of the oxygen is gone. That means the air has almost no oxygen left to breathe. People everywhere are collapsing, not from panic, but because their bodies simply can't go on. Even underwater, the last of the ocean creatures float lifelessly. The world has gone quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. But it's not just living things that are falling apart. With oxygen disappearing from everywhere, not just the air, but also from water, rocks, and even buildings, the very structure of the planet is breaking down. Water turns into pure hydrogen because the oxygen in H2O is gone. Concrete crumbles because oxygen was part of what held it together. Skyscrapers and homes turn to dust. Roads crack, bridges fall. Even the human body isn't safe. Our bodies are made of 65% oxygen. As the last bit disappears, people don't just stop breathing, they fall apart. Skin, muscles, organs, everything turns into a soft, lifeless mess. It's no longer a disaster, it's complete destruction. And at this point, nothing is left to save. But is this the true end? Or is there still some tiny hope? So, is there any chance Earth could bounce back from something this extreme? Well, that depends on how bad it really gets. If oxygen disappeared from everything, the air, the water, the ground, then no, there's no coming back. Not for us, not for animals, not for trees or even buildings. Earth would be broken down to its raw pieces, and it would take billions of years, maybe more, for anything to even begin rebuilding. But let's imagine a slightly less horrible version. What if oxygen only vanished from the air, not from water, plants, or the ground? Then maybe, just maybe, Earth could heal. Some tiny life forms can survive without oxygen. These are called anaerobic bacteria. They were among the first living things on Earth, billions of years ago. In a world without air to breathe, these little survivors would be just fine, and they'd multiply fast. There are also some tough creatures like cockroaches, naked mole rats, and weird sea worms called bristleworms. These animals can live with very little oxygen, or even switch how they survive when there's none at all. If they make it through, they could be the start of something new. Now, if we somehow flipped a magical switch and oxygen came back, 1% every second, it would take 8 minutes to reach normal again. But the world would still be filled with lifeless bodies, fallen cities, and dead forests. The planet might recover eventually, but not in days or weeks. We're talking about millions or even billions of years. And even if life begins to grow again, there's another problem. The sun won't wait. In about 600 million years, it will shine hotter and brighter, making Earth too warm for most life. First, plants will die. Then the oceans will dry up. Eventually, even the toughest creatures might not survive. So yes, Earth might recover in a tiny way, but not in any way we'd recognize. Not with us in it. But if you think that's bad, just wait. What would happen if we dumped all of Earth's water onto the sun? Well, that's a story for another time.